can help orchestrate the meeting, but we have not elected a chair as of yet. Okay. All right. I think we'll just give it a couple more minutes. I'm not sure. Due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis and in accordance with Governor Sununu's emergency order. Oh, Bill just logged in. I'll give him a second here. You all set, Bill?
Yep, I'm in.
Okay, I'm going to read this disclaimer before we get started here. Due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis and in accordance with Governor Sununu's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, has determined that the Town Council is authorized to meet electronically. The public is welcome to attend with certain social distancing guidelines in place at Town Hall. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video and other electronic means. We are utilizing the Zoom platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the committee have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the Zoom platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting through dialing the following phone number: 646-558-8656 and access code 911-702-5727, or by clicking on the following website address: https://zoom.us/j/911-702-5727. It is also being streamed live on the town website, newmarketnh.gov, and channel 13 locally. Providing public notice of the necessary information for access the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of how to access the meeting using Zoom, and instructions are provided on the Town of Newmarket's website, www.newmarketnh.gov. And we're providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are any problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-659-3617, extension 1321. adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. If in the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. And please note, if we do vote on anything in this committee, it will be done by roll call vote. I'm hoping we have Mark Berlin of the IPS group here to talk about parking options. I'm hoping that we can go around the room and everybody can state their name, just so he knows who he is speaking to and who is here. And I'll start. My name is Lieutenant Gregory Jordan with the Police Department. And if you guys could just go around and let them know who's here.
My name is Jonathan Kuiper. I am with the Town Council and also own a business on Main Street in Newmarket.
Warren Bosch. I'm a local resident for the last 8 years and worked at Oracle Corporation.
My name is Derek Fisher and I own Wingets on Main Street and also own the property in Newmarket.
Bill Barr, I'm a Newmarket resident and also a member of the Fire Rescue Department.
Rick Molaski, the Public Works Director and the Fire Chief for the town of Newmarket.
All right. So everybody has spoken. Mark is here to speak about some of the parking options. Meters. He's going to speak about that. And we're hoping that if you guys have some questions, you can feel free to chime in. And Mark, whenever you're ready, you can start.
Great. I'm going to try and share my screen. Do I have permission to do that?
Good. Bottom of the screen should be a share button.
It says you've disabled that, so somebody needs to enable that for me. Try it again here. It says host disabled participant screen sharing. That appears to work. Let's see here. All right, let's see. Great. Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yep.
Okay. So just a little bit about me. I live in Auburn. I know Newmarket fairly well. My daughter, her senior year at UNH, lived, I think it was the Church Street Apartments with a roommate. And many years prior to that, I had an uncle who lived in Newmarket and worked at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. So a lot of, warm affections for the town, and would love to, help you folks come up with a parking plan that suits the business owners and people coming to visit. I've been with IPS for going on 6 years. I had worked for Duncan Solutions, a couple jobs prior to that in parking as well. And I think that IPS offers when I worked at Duncan, they had single space parking meters and multi-space parking meters and enforcement. And the interesting thing is they acquired different companies, and it sounded great on paper, but the solutions didn't talk to each other. Conversely, at IPS, we have single space parking meters, we have multi-space parking meters, we have an enforcement solution, a permitting solution, all created by IPS internal development. So we understand the code and can make things communicate with each other, as I'll show you today. That's really important, especially for a municipality going from unpaid to paid parking. You want to make it as easy as possible for people coming into town, but certainly just as easy for anybody in the town, either doing enforcement or managing any part of the parking operation. There's no finger pointing, We sent this data here, it's not getting to this device and so forth. In Bar Harbor, I think that there's been a few people, I think in Newmarket, maybe Kyle had gone up there and spoke to one of the, and they had a very, very successful program. I think they're going to the third year now. They're seasonal only. But they ended up making 3 times more revenue than they thought they would make, than they had forecasted. And they really, still to this day, give very good references to anybody that calls about IPS because the solution is very solid. As the lieutenant mentioned, if you have any questions, you can ask them at any point in time. It doesn't have to be at the end. I know our solution very, very well. I'll do whatever I can to make sure I can assist and any answers. So that being said, we have a slide here that talks about smart cities. So, you're coming, or, hopefully we're coming out of COVID, and I'm not sure if everybody's back, but I know that some municipalities I've worked with, they don't have all the staff back. So you certainly want to do more with less and optimize all the technology you have to provide a very convenient ecosystem for anybody in the parking world. I'm going to slip over a few slides that I don't think are necessarily applicable here. So I'm going to minimize this here so I can see better. Okay. A little bit about our company. We are headquartered in San Diego. We have roughly 160 employees. We have, I think it's more than 300,000 devices deployed around the country. We have over 20,000 parking meters, single and multi-space parking meters in New England. The majority are in Massachusetts, as you would guess, being the biggest state in New England. A lot of patents. We generate a lot of revenue for our customers, and we have a lot of events going through our cloud-based backend data management system. And an event could be a payment. It could be an alert for a coin jam. It could be somebody inserting a diagnostic card. So we track anything that happens in our meters. We publish a 99% meter uptime, and that's really, really important because you want people that come into the community, when they make a payment, they want that meter to work. And we publish that across our 250 or so customers. So the heartbeat of our solution is really our cloud-based data management system, or DMS for short. And that allows you to manage your pay stations. If you have any single space meters, you can manage that. If you use our pay by phone app, you can manage that. We also have a cloud-based backend for our enforcement and permitting as well. So the discussion has been primarily for pay stations, but I just want to mention the single space meter is a way to provide a solution for short blocks. And I know when I was, I actually drove down Main Street and saw some areas where you may only have 2 or 3 spaces, and that might make more sense to use a single space meter, and that's what we call these single space meters. In fact, Bar Harbor actually put all of these on street. And their thought process was to make the payment process very, very easy. A user just gets out of the vehicle, goes right in front of their car, and goes to a space and puts in either coins or credit cards to complete that payment. They didn't want to have people walk, a number of spaces, 2 to 3, 4 spaces to the pay station, and depending on the type of enforcement, we're going to talk about that in a second, potentially walking back to your vehicle to put that that receipt on your dashboard. But again, we have no axe to grind, so that certainly we'll talk about the benefits of both. So the benefit of a single space meter is that it's the most convenient for a motorist. Pass through this because I know we want to talk primarily about pay stations. Now we also have a a service called My Parking Receipts. And My Parking Receipts allows you to register for an account. And when you register for an account, you can have up to 5 vehicles and 2 credit cards. And if you register for an account, once you go into any IPS meter anywhere, so if you go to Portsmouth or Concord or Hanover or Boston or anywhere else that has IPS meters, and you use your credit card, you'll receive a receipt through email instantaneously. You also have the ability to log in and look at all your transactions. So our pay stations, I'm going to go back here for a second just to show you something. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but I'm circling around these 4 buttons. There's 4 buttons to the right of the credit card piece here. There's a green button, which is okay. The red button below that is cancel. You have 2 blue buttons to the left, plus or minus. And that's, if you're inserting a credit card, it will default to some value of time, and you can hit the plus or minus key to select more or less time. You can hit OK, or if you selected too much time and you want to cancel it, you can cancel it. The reason I bring that up is if you have a combination of our single multi-space meters, we have the same 4 buttons on our pay stations, the plus, minus, the cancel, and OK. So anybody that's used any of our meters in your community, if they have the single space and they go to multi-space, it'll be very similar. It's very, very easy to navigate the parking transaction. Now we offer 3 versions of our pay stations. One is called Pay and Display, where you actually go up to the pay station, you select the amount of time you want, you hit OK, it prints out a receipt, you take that receipt and you go back and you put it on your dashboard. That's how the enforcement officer is going to enforce that. It'll have an expiration time. Very, very simple. You can actually, you don't need to have any handhelds communicating to a back end to be able to determine if a person's paid or not, because they can visually see that. Just like on a single space meter, they can visually see the flashing lights if they're green or red, meaning expired. Green's the session's still valid, or red is expired. So that's very, very easy to visually enforce. You can also choose pay by space, which I don't recommend for our area. That means you have to number each one of the spaces, and a motorist would go up to the pay station, enter the space number, make their payment, they can go on their way. They don't have to go back to the vehicle. The newest form of payment is called, or enforcement is pay by plate. And that's what Bar Harbor has. That's what many of our customers have in other states. The benefit of pay by plate is, again, you're just going to the pay station. You are going to enter your plate number, but you, again, do not need to go back to your vehicle to put a receipt on your dashboard. But the benefit in any other state except New Hampshire is you can use LPR, or license plate recognition, to enforce that. And that becomes a very efficient way to enforce. It's my understanding that still in New Hampshire that you cannot use LPR for enforcing parking sessions. I've heard a number of communities are trying to work with the legislature to change that. If it does get changed, then certainly that would be an effective way to enforce. But those are the 3 different types. Going back to My Parking Receipts is when you use a registered credit card in a pay by plate pay station, it will automatically populate the plate information with the very first vehicle that you choose. Then you can hit your plus minus key to change vehicles. So if I'm driving my wife's vehicle today, I can go ahead and hit the down arrow and select her vehicle and then hit OK. Now, one of the nice things about that is many people don't remember the plate number, or sometimes they'll transpose letters such as O's and zeros or ones and L's, and they'll put in the wrong plate number. And when the enforcement officer comes and looks at the back end, he's not going to see the invalid number that was entered. He'll see a valid number that shows expired. So one of the benefits of My Parking Receipts is that can eliminate that. So we can actually put a little QR code on the side of the pay station, sign up for this service, and that will make it much easier for them to complete transactions. I guess I'll just mention, I'm gonna go back again, maybe. So the pay stations are modular. They're very easy to maintain. So you'll see you have a bunch of ribbon cables here with little plugs. You have a battery, you've got the printer with the paper in it. You have a coin validator. And the nice thing about our single multi-space meters is the coin validator and credit card reader are the same in both those platforms. So you don't need to stock as many spares. Down below is your coin vault. So whoever's doing the collections, they'll actually, there's a key on the side here. So they'll have a key to open this vault door. Then there's actually two keys, a little T key, I call it, and then another key here that opens this door. And inside of that steel door, you pull out a coin canister, and that is locked as well. So you have a lot of levels of security here. And every time you do a collection, you put a coin collection card into the meter, and it's going to print out a little receipt with the amount of coins that should be in that canister. So when you bring that to the bank, those numbers should match up. So you have very, very tight auditing. One of the things I like about our solution is it's not intimidating. It's not large. You don't have a large solar panel on the top that looks like a growth or appendage on top of the device. We have a solar panel on the front, one that slopes up, and one in the back. So as the sun is coming across the horizon, you're going to get a lot of solar gain. When you select any one of the keys, it lights these blue LEDs, which is really cool, making it very easy to see the navigation process, to see your buttons and so forth. This is an example of one in Asbury Park where somebody's making a transaction and it lights up at night. So on December 21st, when it gets dark at 4:15, you're still enforcing parking. Makes it very easy to complete that transaction.
So Mark, quick question. So might understand that you do not need any kind of line power to the device. You could move it if you wanted to every month.
So we offer two versions. I'd say 95% of my customers go with the solar powered one, but a need AC, and you're not getting any solar, then you price.
Energy to where it's not going to conk out in the middle of the winter.
Correct.
Okay, great, thanks.
And we also have, I'd recommend that you buy a spare battery or two, and we have a trickle charger so that in the event you had, I don't know what the reason would be, but for some reason it wasn't getting enough sun, it was up against the building, you're on the north side of a street or something, you're getting very little sunlight in the winter, maybe the battery does get down below the recommended voltages, and whoever's maintaining them gets an alert. We can swap out the batteries, they can trickle charge that, just like you do, snowmobile in the off season or motorcycles or whatever, same process.
Mark, lights help this charge if it was real close to a street?
I think so. The reason I say I think so is when I do demos, and possibly when I brought it in, time flies now, 6 months ago. I do know that when you have ambient light, I could see it. When I put in my diagnostic card, I could see the solar voltages are certainly adequate. So we don't require a lot of power, especially on our monochrome unit. The color unit I haven't played with enough, but I suspect that anything that's color is going to require or take a little bit more power. But the monochrome one is very, very power efficient. We actually built these pay stations using the power management that we learned from those little single space meters, which are solar also.
Do you know how frequently you have to change the battery in the unit?
Again, I think you can go many, many years because again, it's a battery that can be recharged. So as I indicated earlier, if the voltage got down below an acceptable level, you could use the trickle charger to get the voltage back up where it needs to be. But many, many years. I don't know if it's 3 or 4 or 5, but certainly a lot if you manage the battery. If you provide good battery management.
So Mark, one thing that might help as you're, saying relaying all the technologies you have is, our ultimate goal is to maximize the churn on our spaces, right? And improve
Yep.
turnover, right? So we don't have people camping out for 8 hours, 12 hours. And as I understand it, from my limited knowledge, there's two ways to do that. One is a parking charge, right? Make it expensive to leave that car there for 8 hours. The other is to, monitor the car, monitor the time, set a limit, and give them a ticket, right? In other words, a limited time available to a spot. And it's encouraging to see that you do have a vehicle sensor capability in the street. And, I'm wondering, right now, I don't think our town residents are going to be too happy if like phase one of this is, hey, you're getting $2 an hour. I think they'd rather just, hey, we plan to only, spend an hour or 2 hours to, work with a local business, right? Going for a restaurant, pick up food.
Yep.
And discourage, others from using it as an apartment spot, for their convenience for their house. So that's kind of just part of, I think it's our initial focus, not so much on the charges. So when you're thinking about how do we maximize turnover without charging an arm and a leg?
Great point. So, so Bar Harbor, believe it or not, I think they have a 2-hour time limit.
Okay.
And I just want to go back to your sensor thing to clarify something. The sensors we have available are only for a single space meter, which Bar Harbor does have. They use that as much to zero out the time. So if somebody pays for 2 hours, leaves after an hour, they recoup that 1 hour. Nobody else can piggyback off that. If you're using these pay stations, either pay and display or pay by space mode, nobody can piggyback anyway, but that's one of the reasons they use it for. Another way you could potentially use that with single space is if you had real-time monitoring on, where it sends an alert all the time. It could send an alert and you'd be able to view that on our, I haven't gotten here yet, but on our handheld, and you could do guided enforcement. It'll let you know every space that has a vehicle in it that's expired. So it just maximizes the efficiency of your resources. But that being said, let's get back to the different ways you can promote turnover and I'll just share some ideas with you. You can have a 2-hour time limit. For example, anybody stays more than 2 hours, even if they come back and feed the meter, you can do time limit chalking, if you will. And that would allow you with our handheld, and again, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. I'll talk about it in more detail. Allow you to just monitor how long somebody's been in a spot through our handheld, and it'll give you a push notification on that device saying, they've exceeded their time limit. Now go ahead and give them a citation for that. That's one thing you can do. We have other communities that do what's called progressive rates, where the first hour might be $1 an hour, and the second hour might be $1 an hour. Then if people want to stay more than 2 hours, they're going to pay dearly for that. In fact, Albany does that. New Brunswick, New Jersey does that, where they have tiered higher rates. The longer you stay, the more you're paying per hour. So I think Albany might even be, if you're going to be there for 8 hours, you're going to pay $32 for that, the pleasure of staying there. So instead of $1 an hour, they keep on raising the rate over so many hours. So you're paying dearly for that. So it's really up to you on how you want to do that. The nice thing is it's very easy to program our meters in the back end. So let's just say you want to offer a 2-hour max where people can't buy more than 2 hours. Then you have some pushback from communities in a certain area. Maybe you have a lot of restaurants in one area, and they like to dine for 3 hours. Well, you could in that one area change the time limit from 2 to 3, but just in that one area only if you want it. Any other questions about the ways to promote turnover?
Nope. I definitely want to see everything you got. I don't.
Okay.
Sorry. I didn't. I was weighing whether to interrupt you in the middle.
No. Okay.
Mark, I had a question.
Sure.
Is it easy to change on the fly? Let's say we set it up for one way to operate. Is it easy to change that if we come along and say we no longer want to do it this way? We, say we set it up initially that the first hour is free, but we find out that's not working. Is that something that's easy to change and go back after?
It's very simple to change, yes.
Okay.
It's a cloud-based backend. My recommendation, by the way, is as a customer, you're gonna be paying a monthly fee for these meters. You're paying us, I think the number is $55 a month for our pay stations on street. That includes the back-end data management, which I'm going to talk about in a second. It includes the fees that we're paying to Verizon or AT&T. It includes tech support. So if, my recommendation is, I wouldn't do it myself. I mean, it is really easy for anybody who spends a little bit of time in there, but I'm just extremely cautious. I can show you the back end. It really is. But I would just say, hey, call them up and say, we want to change it from, free to, $1, or, we're only going to give them 15 minutes of free time or something, but it is very easy to do, and you can do it. And the next time that meter calls in, they call in if there's no activity from any motorist, twice a day at a minimum, or if there's a credit card transaction, it calls in because it's sending up that credit card transaction real time, and it'll make the change at that point in time.
I have,
Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
This is Warren, just one more thing, Mark.
sorry.
One more goal we were trying to do is to avoid having a dedicated meter monitoring person. So just a piece of information, if you're considering, say, a kiosk and you have tickets on dashboards, that sort of entails that you have to have someone walking around making sure there's tickets on people's dashboards, right?
Yep.
In order to enforce that model. So don't need an answer now, but just, think about, is there a way to make this exception based, right? Where, like you said, you do a push notification on a car finding. So if the only way to do that is with dedicated spot meters and spot sensors in the street, let us know too there. Because yeah, I don't know if we're ready on a phase one to hire someone, full time, or expect Gregory's peers to go around and check car windshields.
That's a good point. So I'm thinking about that. So if who would potentially be writing citations? Would it be somebody from the police department?
Yes, it would be. It would be us initially. And one of the things that we're concerned about is the ability to not dedicate so much time or a specific person to this task. And we're very interested in the ability to, as you described it, get a push notification to find out cars are there, and we can go down with the knowledge that we need to enforce, as opposed to, walking car to car. I think that would be something that we'd be very interested in.
Okay, so the best way to accomplish that, I think, would be with our single space meters. But again, when I talked to Steve, he was, pretty set on pay stations, maybe more for streetscape. So again, that's something that you folks need to figure out, but that really would be the easiest way to do that. And again, I'm going to show you the handhelds in a minute here, but you don't even need to go with the sensors. If you have the single space meters, again, I told you there's lights, and
A single
I
space
actually have that in my
meter
basement.
isn't really an option for the town of Newmarket. That downtown is way too tight
Okay.
already. We have equipment to do snow removal, and that would just be.
Yep.
That's not really an option for us. We don't have the room down there.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so then you wouldn't be able to use any sensors with push notifications to let you know that there's a vehicle in here. Unfortunately, that technology is only available with our single space, not with a pay station.
So what's the price difference between the pay stations and the single space units?
It's
Now, is it
very-
just a month? Do you guys supply the equipment and then it's a monthly fee, or how does that work?
Just a very rough rule of thumb is the price per space is similar for a single space versus a pay station. I'll just give you some rough numbers. If you have a pay station that's coin and credit card only, you're probably talking $6,000 or $7,000 in that neighborhood, and that'll manage roughly 6 to 8 spaces. So let's just talk roughly $1,000 a space. You have to pour I can't remember if you have all concrete or if you have any brick pavers or what, but you need to have a solid base to put that on. So if the sidewalks are thick enough, we could put it on a concrete sidewalk. If not, you've got to pour a 2x2x2 concrete base. Then you have to have signage pointing people, pay here, pay here signs. So when that's all said and done, you're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000 to $1,500 a space, either way.
Doesn't matter
so-
if it's a pay station or if it's a single unit
Yeah, it's
or
pretty
a single
close.
space unit.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is, so a single space meter, the smart part of it itself, and let me just go back here. I'll show you. What's included here. So the top silver part, we call that the smart meter, and that's $500. Then the
Mhm.
gray or black bottom piece here, that's probably $300 with a coin canister. So 5 and 3 is $800.
Mhm.
Now, if you, if your DPW can install the post, then you can save a lot of money. If we have to subcontract that, you're probably talking $350 per post to have that installed. So that's
Yeah.
where the price goes up a little bit. But again, it's kind of it's pretty even. Just $1,200 to $1,500 per space is probably a reasonable number to budget.
Okay. But it sounds like you almost the pay station's more, you get more out of a pay station than you would a single space unit, basically, is what it comes down to.
I'm not sure what you mean by.
So, I mean, it just sounds like it. So you would have, I understand you're saying the pricing between $1,000 and $6,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's $1,000 space. So if you have one unit that can manage 6 to 8 spaces, and it's a pay station, that would probably be less work installing than it would be the single parking space units,
It
as far as the
certainly would
town
be.
goes.
Yes, certainly as far as the town goes, absolutely, yeah.
And so all this information is transmitted through cellular signal as well. So like when you make a payment with a credit card, that signal is sent or that transaction sent over wireless
Correct, yeah.
cellular signal.
Yep, so we're using either Verizon or AT&T 4G, and all that information, as I mentioned, is sent back to our back end. So any, the health of the meter, low battery alerts, coin jams, credit card jams, all the revenue, all that gets sent to our back end. Anytime you do a collection, it zeroes out on the back end. Now we have no coins in this canister.
And that service is included in the monthly fee?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
And then as far as also answering somebody's question, so the traditional way is you would buy the equipment, like Bar Harbor did. They paid $440,000 for their, I think it was maybe somewhere in the neighborhood, $400,000 or $500,000 for our equipment, and they made $1.5 million the first year. But we can finance it. We can do a revenue share. We work with municipal leasing companies, so there's a number of things we can do to work with you. So you don't outlay any capital if you want.
Lieutenant Jordan, I have a question for you, actually.
Sure.
So let's just, hypothetically say that the pay stations is the solution. And, but then again, it's also complicates what you guys have to do on a day-to-day basis, because you're still having to check the parking tickets or the payment tickets that they have. Now, if this generated enough money, then, it could also be taken into consideration to hire parking meter people that, enforce the parking instead of having the law enforcement officers that are on patrol doing it. We could have people that were separate that would be paid by the revenue from the meter itself.
I do think that is one thing that has been discussed, is that will there be enough revenue to, have somebody, pay for someone to actually do not only just the enforcement, but the collection and the maintenance.
Right.
Routine maintenance would be needed, whether it be filling the the ticket dispensers or collecting the coins. And I also think there's been some discussion that maybe the revenue would help other parking issues that we may have, whether it be constructing a parking lot or a facility for parking. So I do think the revenue is an aspect that is being discussed, and I also think that could be an option. I do think, at least initially, if we went with something like this, it probably would still fall on the officers.
Law enforcement, yeah.
But, you know, I still think that something of this nature would be some progress due to the fact that right now the only revenue that we see at all is if we actually issue a ticket and then the person, you know, pays the ticket. So I think that this is also giving you some enforcement just by the fact that people are going to pay and you know, manage it themselves. Most of the people are gonna, I think, pay, you know, for the fees without us getting to the enforcement side of it. But
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people around this area that are used to paying for parking. Obviously, just not like Exeter or Newmarket, but you know, I mean, I just don't see how that would be a bad thing for the town, for any town really, to charge for parking for, you know, people that are coming into town to shop at the stores or go to the restaurants or even just to walk around downtown. I think it'd be a very positive thing for Newmarket, obviously.
yeah, I went to Dover the other night and I didn't think twice about having to put money. I just knew that was the way it is. And
Mhm.
I know it's not perfect. I know that some people are going to not like it because it's currently free, but I also think that it may be time for something like this, you know.
I agree.
I have a concern about the single station unit. But my main concern with it is that the inconvenience for people to have to park and then walk over to that single unit, interface with that unit, then go back to their car with a ticket, and then go across the street just to pick up takeout and then go back to their car and drive away. Even if you could put in for 1 hour free and all you had to do was walk over to the machine and get the ticket. I just see that as essentially a hassle that I'm worried will discourage people in the opposite direction of what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do, right, is make it more appealing for people to come to our downtown area to go to the restaurants and stores. I also understand Rick's point about how putting all the single-use parking meters at every location will make snow removal and maintenance very difficult in the downtown area. And so understanding that currently in New Hampshire, it's illegal to use camera-based systems, if that's true, to do the enforcement for the short duration parkers, you know, the people that want to use the first free hour but don't have to go to the machine. Are there any other options that involve or that would allow that first hour to be flagged somehow, that avoid the inconvenience of going to the single pay meter just to go into a restaurant to do takeout?
So we do support tokens in a smart card. Now, I don't know if that's an option or not, but you know, I don't know whether every resident gets, you know, some amount of, you know, tokens a year that they can use to do that kind of thing. Or, you know, maybe you could even allow businesses to buy them at a discount to, you know, feed a meter on behalf of their patrons. That's something that you may want to consider.
But it would still involve going to that single station meter to either put the token in or redeem some sort of code or something.
Right, yeah.
And a slip on your car. You know, and curious, Mark, you know, from your expertise, what's interesting is this year Portsmouth went to a plate-based entry system where you don't have to go back to your car. You don't have to put a slip in the car. You can literally just type your plate in. Do you know how they can enforce that? I mean, how would that even work if you can't use the cameras these days?
Right. So what's happening, and I haven't gotten there yet, is we can pass the plate information to an enforcement. You guys can see me a handheld, and I'm going to show it to you on my screen. But you know, this is, I don't have it powered up yet, but a handheld is going to show you all the paid sessions, or even if you don't have a handheld, you're running citations by hand, we have a mobile device and you can bring up the paid sessions on our mobile device, or you can even have a web version of that and view that in a cruiser.
So you still need an attendant at that point. You're just trying to make it a little easier for them. So they don't have to go to the meter to look at something. They can just walk around and,
Correct.
Okay. All right. Bummer. All right.
Yeah. So I just wanted to show you this. Some people's perception is that these take up a lot of space. They really don't. They're off the sidewalk. But I just thought I'd show that to you, single space.
Do you have any plan, just out of curiosity? I mean, I know there's companies out there that allow the in-street sensors to directly communicate wirelessly, low energy Bluetooth or 5G to the kiosk directly, so they can actually monitor time a car's been in a spot and then allow the kiosk to, pay by plate or pay for that spot. Are you guys thinking about having the pucks talk to a kiosk instead of the individual pay stations?
Let me find out. I'm actually going to a sales meeting in Orlando in a few weeks. I'll ask that question.
I mean, it's super popular in
I know
Europe
they
right now. I
have
mean,
them
yeah. I
Yeah.
found like 3 or 4 companies. They all were, European based, but it seems to be the hot new trend is, the
Yeah.
pucks talk directly to the kiosk. And in that
Yeah.
situation, right, we could just literally push something to, patrol officers, phones that says, hey, this one's late. This one's been there for
Yep.
more than 2 hours, and we don't have track plates. People don't have to go walk back and forth to a station to put something in the car. We could
Yep.
essentially, we could have free parking for 2 hours, right? It's like free or ticket, or free and then $5 an hour, something like that.
correct.
And that's really, I think, would be the optimal solution for us without having to have a dedicated attendant walking around, checking plates, checking dashboards. People wouldn't have to be walking, great, I found a spot in front of my restaurant, but the kiosk is a block away, and now I got to go to the kiosk, then come back to my car.
Right, I agree. I don't think anybody's going to be upset about having to walk to the kiosk if they're planning on going into a restaurant for 2 or 3 hours. That's not terribly inconvenient. I think the inconvenience arrives where you want to use a parking spot for 10 minutes and you're going to be using it for twice as long as you have to walk to this kiosk and back in the winter time and slush and everything. The other comment I had was, it seems like we're talking all or nothing. Is there a combination solution where maybe there's some areas where Public Works would be okay with having some of these single space meters, and then other places where they weren't, to try to facilitate that 2-hour free issue?
Like maybe in
Well,
front of the,
yeah,
like
I
in
mean,
front of the station.
Yeah, on our end, you can certainly go with a hybrid solution. We have some communities that do that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, Rick, what do you think about in front of the post office? All those diagonal spots, because that's what, 10 spots or so there. Could you put meters there?
It's too tight. We have machines that articulate. They barely get through there right now with what's down there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There's, in just a couple things, not just the snow removal, but I think no matter what we do, there's going to have to be someone walking around down there doing enforcement. They don't have the technology where they can sit in dispatch and look at a screen and just monitor and take care of it. So no matter what we choose to do, someone's going to be doing some type of enforcement of some type. I don't see that going away.
I agree.
I agree with that too, by the way. I think you have to have somebody enforce, even if you start part-time and have them have staggered hours so that, they enforce in the morning some days and midday, and then, towards the tail end of the day, just so that people understand, I've got to pay. They just don't know when the person's going to be enforcing, but.
I know in a lot of communities that have started this, they've switched it from the police department to the Public Works department. Doesn't even go through the PD. It's all through Public Works in a lot of communities. And I'm not like trying to advocate for that because we have enough to do, but I'm sure Greg would love us to take that over. But what I'm saying is that aspect, we're going to have someone doing that. But I think with these pay by plate stuff in that unit you have, if we could go to that, you put the kiosk, we even hit the parking, all the free parking areas, even down in the bowl. There's no more free parking down there. You got to pay.
Yep.
Then we open up to more revenues because, this stuff's going to cost money, but I think we're going to have to go to a kiosk type system where you got to go over. Now, hopefully you don't have to walk back to your car and all that stuff for the inconvenience, but I think really what's going to fit for Newmarket and work because of our space restraints and stuff like that is those kiosk stations in certain strategic areas that cover, you have to do it in Portsmouth, you have to do it in Dover, you have to do it. There's all kinds of places. Like you said, I
Yep.
just went up to Bar Harbor and had to do it.
Yep.
I think that's kind of where we're going to be focusing for Newmarket and what will work for Newmarket. But that's,
Mark, do you want to speak to some of the revenues that Bar Harbor pulled in? I think you mentioned it to the town council, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
See if this article is still around.
the only thing, Jonathan, with that is, I mean, I'm sure you guys have all been up there, but their population for visitors is,
Oh yeah, I don't think it's going to be near the same, but just that, it's not an insignificant, it's not going to be a couple $100. Like I think
yeah,
it would cover at least the cost of someone going down there and ticketing.
and taken care of.
Yep.
The other thing too is I think that we could have a couple of spots around town that were like, let's say 15-minute spots that had no meter and were kind of a loading zone, something like that, like one at each block for people that are just doing a quick, just jumping in to grab some takeout or something.
Mark,
Most
you
of the
mentioned
towns
that
and
you
cities
do,
have stuff like that.
you mentioned you do revenue share. So do you guys do some type of market analysis if you're going to do revenue share based on what your income you think you'll get?
Yeah, so what we'd do is, we'd have to get from you what you believe your rate per hour is going to be. The number of spaces, I think there's about 100 on street, and you've got a couple of 2 or 3 surface lots, so maybe it's 150 spaces. Try and come up with an occupancy number, and then we can share revenue until the meters are paid off.
Yeah. So what do you do pretty much a parking study?
Let me find out, who's in charge of that, or who would do a parking study. But I can certainly come over. I do know there are some parking consultant companies, but they certainly charge for that. But we can certainly sample other communities that are similar and find out what their average occupancy is. But even if you went low, let's say we said the occupancy per space is 40% or something. How many hours a day do you think you would charge for parking?
I think currently it runs from 6 in the morning till 6 in the evening. And I think we would at least do that. I don't know if it would extend a little bit into the evening hours to get the evening crowd to move around.
Okay, yeah, maybe I would do 8 in the morning to 8 at night or something. So let's say you do 12 hours a day, and let's even say it's 40% occupancy. So you get 5 hours. So you're getting $5 per day per meter. If you have 20 enforcement days, so you're getting $100 per that meter in a month, or $1,200, for the over 12 months. You're pretty much paying for the program in the first year. Another one of my customers, Arlington, Mass, when they went from unpaid to paid many, many years ago, same thing. They ended up doing like I don't know if it was a 3-year lease or 5-year lease. I can go back and check, but it was a longer term lease, and they, I think, paid for theirs in about a year. But we can certainly work with you on that.
Do you know of any towns that are of a rough, same size as Newmarket that you guys have installed your systems in that, we could sort of look at, I guess?
So, I'm thinking nearby, Portsmouth is not in the same league as you guys. Concord's not, Hanover's not. They're all a little bit different. I'm gonna have to think about that. I'm probably would have to go down to Massachusetts, I would think, to get somebody that's similar to you. But some of the accounts that we have in Massachusetts, Arlington, Concord, Lexington, maybe one of those, Concord or Lexington, might be similar.
What about Kittery, Maine?
We don't have that.
No.
And that's probably not the same either, because it's probably more touristy, I would think too. More seasonal even.
Yeah, you could be right.
There isn't the technology or like for an app where you don't even have to go use a kiosk, you
Yeah,
got
there
a
are.
smartphone and you
Yeah.
have to just punch it in, and
Yeah, there
if
are.
you don't have
Yeah.
a smartphone, I guess you've got a problem, but you know what I mean? I know there are a few people without them. There is a
Yeah.
couple people out there still, but where you could just do it through an app and not even have to have people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, real quick, let me just show you this, and I'm going to go to that. But while I have this up here, so this is one way that you can enforce pay by plate. I don't know if you can see this well or not, but there's different tabs. All the way over on the right is the plate number, and the second column to the left is the enforcement, and it's color coded based on green is still valid session. It looks like pink here, but it's really red. Is expired, and yellow is about to expire. They've got 1 minute left in that session. So that's how you can enforce from a vehicle. And we have the same type of thing for a handheld. But let me go ahead and
The challenge is the reds may not even be there anymore. Right?
that's true. But so let me go ahead and show you on our handheld here. Couple things. So we have Park Smarter. Is somebody asked a question about the paying from a phone? You can certainly do that. We have our own app that some of our customers use. You basically register, like I mentioned before, with the My Parking Receipts. You put in a credit card, payment type, and then vehicles, and you select the vehicle, the amount of time you want to pay for, and that's sending information to our back end as well. So you're able to enforce using our handhelds with that session also. Even if the meter does not show that it was paid, that's going to show that it's paid.
I think that's like, I know you guys with the restaurants must see it since COVID. Everybody got that Apple Pay, and they don't even get their debit card out now. They just walk in, swipe their phone up, and boom, they walk out. Like that's like the new thing. And I think it'd be nice to try to do something like that.
So those would work as with the kiosks. You'd have some kiosks for people that didn't have the smartphones, and then anyone with a smartphone could just jump on that app and then pay that way.
Yeah, so you just have like a couple kiosks, and if you don't have a smartphone, you're gonna have to take a hike, you might have to walk.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
And it'd probably be pretty easy to put signage up on the light posts and stuff like that. So you
Yeah,
don't
we
have to
could,
install.
we already have a sign on every light pole, so you just
Right.
redo the signs. And
Be the same. Yeah, wouldn't be a big deal. You wouldn't have to install other sign poles or anything like that in there.
No, and I think people would, the way the younger generation is, they're all gonna wanna do it with their phone. But, you
Yeah.
know,
The problem is they're all looking down, not up.
So
Right.
Mark, with the pay by plate, all you need is your plate number. And the enforcement mechanism is to drive around and look for the plate numbers that have expired time and see if they're still there.
Correct.
they already have the laptops and the cruises, so that with the cards and everything, I mean, you already have half the equipment. Everyone has a phone, and the PD's already set up with their laptops, so. I think that's,
Mark, one issue I've noticed we kind of have with the town sometimes is we get into this technology and 5 or so years goes down, and then the software or whatever we paid for is no longer being supported. Do you guys have any long-term, agreements or anything that would sort of keep us from having to rebuy new equipment in 5 years? Because that's something that we've run into with, electric locks and programmed stuff for the town and quite a few.
Yep. So the beauty with us is everything is hosted by IPS. We have redundant, locations, so that everything is backed up as well. So it is a browser-based system. Even our handheld, we have an app on that. So you could bring your own device, an Apple or Android device, and have a Bluetooth printer to do your enforcement, and we just download software out of that. We're always updating that. So in the case of the back end, the data management system, the enforcement using the web or a mobile device, that's something that we're always updating. So you never have to worry about anything not being valid. I've noticed since we started with our enforcement solution, we had maybe 20 reports when we started. We're now probably close to 80 reports. So as a customer says, hey, I like this, but you add this particular piece so I can have my own report that does what I want it to do. There's no additional charge for that for you folks. That's what that monthly fee includes, is all of the support and the development of the back end. Same thing on the physical device on the street. We have firmware. So as we update the firmware, we just push that out. There's no charge for you.
So for the equipment, what kind of warranties or guarantees, if something breaks,
Yep.
A manufacturer defect, or just not operating
Yep.
properly?
Yep.
How does that get fixed?
There is a 1-year parts only warranty. I would recommend you have some additional components on site, maybe a spare keypad, maybe a spare battery, like I discussed, spare coin validator, a few items. And if something were to, fail, you exchange that part with your spares. You send the bad piece back to IPS. We repair or replace it under warranty. We also offer extended warranties, or if you don't want to go with extended warranties after the first year, you can RMA it. We call it a return material authorization, and we have flat fees for depending on the different part, to repair that.
So somebody on our end would have to be the one that's maintaining and repairing these units.
Yep.
Gotcha.
As I mentioned to you, when I showed you the pay station, it's all modular. I know in Peekskill, New York, they've got 2 guys in DPW. They're responsible for everything. They maintain all theirs. They have, I want to say 400 or 500 single space, maybe 600, and they have 20 pay stations. So 2 guys.
So that basically, that goes back to, it's pretty much inevitable. There's going to be somebody that's going to be responsible for either maintaining or checking these units on a regular basis.
Right, it's maintenance, it's the collections. They're gonna have to collect the coins out of them every so often.
Correct. So as far as like the customer service for the back end of the back office then, and if there's an issue and we need to get in touch with somebody, that this is not going to be like some call center out in Romania. This is going to be a call center here in the United States with the actual service tech provider.
Yep. So for example, we do offer 7x24-hour support. So even on the weekend, there's somebody on call. Now, if you were to call up, you're going to get an answering service. They're going to dispatch the person who's on call. But I'm going to show you even right now. So data management system right here. I'm going to log in. We have even a little chat on here as well. If you log into our back end, there's a chat feature. So you see it says we're online, chat now.
Yeah.
So you can chat with somebody, or we have a little information tab which shows you how to do certain maintenance and so forth. How to maintain the meters. So you can go ahead and look at that, replacing the keypad, navigating the diagnostic menu. You can run each one of these videos. So it's really easy to do. Installing or removing the batteries, removing a card reader, replacing a coin validator, replacing a printer.
Okay.
Do you see any vandalism in the initial phase of actually installing meters in a new town?
I've been lucky that we don't. We've certainly installed in some rough areas, like Baltimore is one of our customers, and I've got Patterson, New Jersey, but they were existing customers prior to IPS coming in. They had coin-only meters, and then they went to our smart meters. So they're already used to meters. But for the most part, I would say a community like Newmarket, you shouldn't have any. But I think when I was in the town council meeting, they were saying, well, maybe the kid's getting out of a bar at, 1 o'clock in the morning, they might go ahead and try and vandalize a meter. I guess that's always true. That's why we do recommend some spares as well, just for that reason.
So if, let's say, for example, a machine went down, these machines are our responsibility to repair. The fees are,
Well, we can send somebody on site. We don't have a like a service contract. And as I mentioned, let me just show you. Would be a good one. Let's see what Hanover, New Hampshire is doing. They have both our single space and multi-space. And go to. We publish a 99% uptime, so they're very reliable. But we have right now 1, 2, 3 techs in Massachusetts. We could have somebody come on site. They do charge $9.50 a day to have somebody come on site, so it's possible. I don't recommend it. I think once we do the install, they're going to teach you how to do the common troubleshooting. And I'm local too. I actually, one of my customers down in Lynn, Mass, he had a keypad that went bad, and I took one out of my machine and went down and gave him mine. So this is Hanover right here. This is a monthly statistics report, and they've got 300 single space, roughly, actually 300 meters total. I forget how many of those are single space, but we'll find out their uptime in a minute. So here we are, their credit card uptime. They have 100% uptime on 300 meters. The coin uptime is 99.94 on average. So it's very, very reliable.
I apologize, I came in late. How many meters are we, did we discuss that? How many meters would be needed for Newmarket? Or was there an estimate?
I believe the number was 100 on street, and then you had 2 or 3 lots with varying number of spaces, maybe another 50 between the 3 lots.
Thank you.
So we're talking about, 150 spaces. So if you take, rough numbers, 150 divided by 8, maybe that's 20 pay stations or something. Now, one of the things I want to mention is with the single space meters, if you have sensors, even if you don't have sensors, but if you have real-time data enabled, it lets you know by zone. So I have a zone here. Let's just see which one this is. Yeah, exactly. I did this a long time ago now, but you can click on a zone, let's say the 6 meters, that number lets you know how many meters in that particular zone. So if I click on that, yeah, here we go. And let me know right now, there's 6 meters in violation. And then you can drill down and look at all the expired meters and then write a citation right from within our handheld. That's really nice, very tight integration. So the same would work. You can see the expired plates as well. So if you want plate by plate, you can see the expired plates, but you'd have to visually look at them on the street to make sure that that vehicle is still in that spot.
Mark, one last question for me. So if the enforcement solution in New Hampshire becomes legal to do the camera enforcement, how would that work through your product?
It will become extremely efficient. We would pass our paid plate information to that LPR device, that camera, and somebody in a cruiser, or if you have an enforcement officer, they're going to have a camera on that vehicle. You're just going to drive down the street and you're going to see the status. It'll alert you every time there is an expired space or an expired vehicle. So you'll have that real time. You can also use that for time limit tracking. So let's say in front of the post office, you didn't want to charge, but you have a 15-minute time limit. You can drive past that and it's going to, chalk each one of those tires, if you will. And then you come back, 30 minutes later, if some vehicles are still there, you can write a citation for exceeding the 15-minute time limit.
And that's obviously compatible as an add-on with the, if we went with the pay-by-plate option, including the app and kiosk.
Yep. Portsmouth is one of my customers. I can call them up and ask them a little bit more about, how they enforce. And I think that they're following, or maybe it's Concord, I forget, one of those two are following the LPR and where that is as far as getting approval to use that. Another thing we have is a permitting solution. So a permitting solution can be used to provide residents a permit to park somewhere. Maybe you want to allow, some people to park in town as a resident. They can apply online. Again, using the most efficient way would be to use a plate-based system where, you enforce the plate versus putting a sticker on the back of the vehicle, but we can do it either way. You can have a handicap permit so that anybody that has, the handicap, they don't have to pay at a meter anywhere. You can have businesses have permits for employees. So let's say there's a CVS in town or something, and there's a surface lot. They can, buy some spaces and allow employees to park in a designated area through a permit. So those are the types of things you can grow into with IPS.
So you're saying as far as the permits go, is that also something somebody can do online without ever actually having, so they could be sitting at their home and buy a permit for a parking spot, and that could be a day or a month or something of that nature?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay.
So maybe you have, again, guest permits. You want to allow people to park, on street outside of the the paid parking area.
All right. Yeah, because we do have some lots where people come in at night and actually buy a permit for, say, $5, and for just an overnight pass or something. So that would be something we'd be interested in.
You can do that, and they can actually print out that pass. So we could have it show up on their PC or laptop or whatever, and they can print that out and put it on the dashboard, and they're good to go.
All right.
No intervention from anybody from town hall.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Mark? I don't see anybody else, Mark. I appreciate your time. Obviously, we may have some further questions for you. If they do come up, I assume we can reach out to you and maybe send some questions along your way in case somebody has something after this meeting.
Absolutely, anytime. But by the way, I want to mention one more thing: is we offer a complimentary city marketing rollout. So we actually have 3 services. One is you get a subset of what we offer for free. We can provide digital content. We can give you all the videos. If you want to put information on your website, frequently asked questions, how do I pay the meter, instructions on how to pay the meter, videos, all that kind of stuff. Those are the types of things we can do for you. Surveys, everything.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate you. I know that you've done this a few times for us, but we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Again, my pleasure, and I look forward to helping us, whenever needed.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, everybody.
Great, thank you.
All right. So, opinions? I have a strong one, but I'll wait.
Why don't you go ahead and share it, Warren?
Yeah, so something I think we need to, decide, right, is what the use model is. And use that to sort of screen out vendors, right? So I was kind of disappointed. I know they had spot monitoring, but I didn't realize that it was kind of a brain dead one, right? It just basically said, oh, I've left my spot, and it resets the meter. It's not actually monitoring the time. It can't communicate to a kiosk. They don't have an application that you could run on officers' iPhones where they can just look at their phone and get an alert, right? So there seems like there are a lot of holes in that use model that won't work for us, right? I mean, you pretty much have to have an attendant under their model, that or wait for LPR to show up in New Hampshire. There's companies like Intuvision, I just found in Woburn, Mass, that has a camera-based system, right? So you can buy a 4-camera setup with a little mini PC that you can stick in somewhere, and the thing will literally watch cars and spots, and it could send an alert. So I think we just need to expand our scope to find a company which can fit this use case of monitoring a spot for time, sending an alert to a generic device, with options to have a payment model where I can pay on my phone with, an app on my phone, a parking app on my phone, or I can pay with, a kiosk at some point. Right now, I don't see us charging initially, right? We're just trying to get people out of spots every 2 hours. I mean,
I think charging follows that, though. I mean, in my opinion, I just think that it's inevitable. We're going to have to charge.
They'll pay for
at
it.
some point.
So something like $1 an hour, something nominal. I mean, right? I mean, if you're going to try to discourage someone, then you got to charge them like $3 an hour, right? Which I don't think we're ready to do.
I
We'll be
don't
lynched.
think that's I don't think that's what we're trying to do, is discourage people that park down there. I think it's just, we all know we have the issue of parking, and we've got to move it, have more of a flow, and then have it, to where it makes sense for the law enforcement part of it too as well. So I agree with you, boy. I think there's other companies out there. There's other options. This is just one guy with one company. And, I mean, I liked a lot of the stuff he was talking about, and I thought the options were great, but that doesn't mean that's the company that is going to be the best fit for Newmarket either.
I think the way the process works too, we put it out to bid, we'll get a bunch of, a bunch of companies. I don't think we can even take his, we couldn't even contract with him without putting it out there. So
Right.
all the information we get from these people are, is sort of,
Preliminary.
they're doing, it's preliminary. We don't need to act on it. One thing that someone had suggested at some point was potentially working with another town like Durham, who has, they have, a whole staff of people that are doing park enforcement. And even like a preliminary step would be to, in my mind, saying, if we had someone here, I mean, literally 10 hours a week, walking through, writing tickets, especially in the summer and especially at random times, would the ticket increase pay, presumably if they're out more often than the police can be, would there be more tickets that would offset whatever pay, whatever fee the town would have to pay them? Because I mean, that's the one benefit of, is from what he was presenting, is it's sort of budget neutral if we can do this lease agreement, for the meters, for the physical technology itself.
I guess my comment would be, if we're trying to get enough revenue to pay an enforcement person or to increase the town staff, I'm kind of looking at that like it effectively equates to a tax increase for the people that live in town that want to go down and use the downtown businesses and restaurants. I still like the idea of trying to find a technical solution that will allow us to enforce the 2-hour rule or the 3-hour rule, whatever it ends up being, reliably and efficiently, so that people aren't hogging the spaces all day long, which I think will solve our problem. I like the idea of the pay by plate that was just proposed with the kiosk and the app. I think that will work, but we are asking the town people to contribute more revenue to the town in order to fund and pay for that service. So it's got to be pretty good if we're asking them to pay money. So I would like to keep looking around for a vendor that might have a solution for us that can just provide the enforcement of the 2-hour parking limit, like we talked about at the last meeting. And like you said, John, at this point we're information gathering so that we could write a spec to go out to bid. So, discussing any particular technology from a vendor right now probably doesn't provide a lot of value, but more about trying to scope what we're looking to put together for a bid.
And that's the thing. I kind of have a set of requirements in my head that would sort of screen some people out. Think about solution. I mean, part of what I do for my job at Oracle is, I just had to answer a 500 question RFI from Intel Corporation. So I get involved in this a lot. And sometimes you just come up with maybe 5 or 6 key requirements. It might help us cut down some of the vendors we're talking to, right? And so that's little things, right? Can you monitor time in a spot, right? First 30 minutes are free, you go pick up your food. After that, you pay $1 an hour. After that, 2 hours, you get a ticket. Can you work with generic phones, right? How much does it cost monthly to maintain the system? Do you have a revenue sharing model, right? So there's probably like 10 things where you just sort of want to ask a potential vendor before they present to us, can you check these boxes? And then I think we'll get 3 or 4 viable choices to go out for bid on. But unfortunately, like for example, tonight, I just don't think it's viable. We're not going to have parking attendants. There's no way to monitor spot violations without that. Or you'd have to have the single meters. And even then I didn't hear him say that those single meters could, monitor a time. They just sort of monitor when the meter runs out. So if someone pulls into a dead meter, it's not going to start flashing. Right? So I'm just worried that they don't have the solution that's going to work for us initially.
I do think maybe what you just said, Warren, is a good idea. Maybe we should come up with a list of things that are important to us, so we could maybe potentially send it out to some of these vendors and say, hey, do you have all these boxes? So maybe we should all collectively decide what are the most important things. I also wonder, I think some people are talking about continuing the free parking, and I think others are thinking that this could be a revenue source to fund future parking that we so desperately need, because we're talking about monitoring the parking that we have now. And I also think we have to think long-term to address what we're going to do to create some more parking. I think that's part of the issue as well. And I think some of the revenues that we're maybe some people are hoping to get would help address future parking.
Agreed. So how does this work? I mean, Greg, you've been involved in a lot of town meetings. I mean, if we're going to come up with maybe just a short list of requirements, right? Not a complex document, but just at least some screening. I'll just call them screening for triage on possible vendors. How should we do that? Should we just set that for next meeting? Should we try to jot them down right now and make a list and someone take notes? What's the best way to capture something like that?
I personally think possibly maybe that's something that we should, hash out in the next meeting, and then we could collectively agree these are important to us, and then maybe send it out to some vendors and speak to some others. It seems like collectively everybody is looking for some other options other than the one we heard tonight. So I think instead of just pulling in a bunch of, and this is just my opinion, just pulling in a bunch of people, maybe we can make sure that the ones we have in offer the products that we're fully considering.
Yep.
I think
Yeah, and we can't pull a vendor, and if their minimum cost is $250,000, right? So a few things that would knock people out of the box, and just figure out what those are.
I think there is definitely some value in looking at whoever Durham and Dover is using, just in the sense that if it's the same app, the same program to go to Portsmouth and pay on your phone, that would, I think, be a lot easier, because I personally don't think anyone's going to care that much about spending $1 or $1 or $2. Well, let's say $1 an hour to park downtown. I don't think anyone's going to care about that almost at all. I mean, to some degree, but I think the biggest thing is going to be how quickly can I get, how easy is this? How, do I have to get out of my car? And I mean, going to Durham, since they've added the meters, it was a little annoying. You got to get a ticket because it's like $1, or it's the first hour is free. You still got to get a ticket, little piece of paper, walk back to your car. And you know, I got to admit the first couple times trying to figure out where to put my kid. Do I bring him with me or do I leave him in the car? You know, it's kind of annoying. But once I'd done it a few times, I mean, I didn't really think about it that much. And, you know, there's definitely a lot of talk in the municipal world about parking being, you know, town property that's sort of being underutilized if you're not getting revenue from it. You know, we charge property taxes for all the land in town, you know, and there's a reason for that, so that we can pay for more infrastructure for the town and, you know, all that stuff. And, you know, we're definitely not going to be getting any money from the federal government or the state government to put a parking lot in Newmarket. That's for sure. You know, I can almost guarantee you that. So, you know, those are the pros and cons of the paid versus unpaid. I definitely think it makes sense to maybe phase it in, if you will, you know, with more parking enforcement now and then, you know, increasing, you know, phase it in. But I like the idea of maybe coming up with some criteria, and then maybe we could address that at the next meeting if we each want to come up with, I don't know, 5 or 10 points that are, I guess, the biggest priorities for us.
I agree with that. I think that's a good task for the next meeting. And hopefully, I would hope that a lot of us have, you know, similar items on the list, and maybe we can come to a consensus.
You know, also, Greg, I want to ask about what are the group's thoughts about polling our community, you know, on Facebook with a simple poll? I mean, you know, ask them, what do you think about $1 an hour? What do you think about, you know, what do you think it's worth to be able to have available parking spots, right? Because we haven't even thought about our town budget's about 95K, 97K, something like that, right? So, you know, we spend about 50K a year on lighting right now in the budget. You know, where do we fall within that range? What is it worth to the town to have available parking for our local businesses? You know, because I'd hate that the group makes a decision like, you know, was made many, many years ago. We go, oh, we're going to parallel parking to make our sidewalks bigger. And for the next 10, 20 years, all you hear about is, geez, why do we get rid of diagonal spots on the street, right? My neighbor, right? I said, hey, I'm on the parking committee. He's like, damn it, don't do another diagonal street parking solution again, right? So if we're thinking about Gary Ave or something else, let's not make a mistake. So again, you know, with Robert's rules and how the committee works, I kind of want to check, you know, with you and maybe Steve, you know, what is our scope? What can we do outside this, you know, public meeting where we can sort of get some more information to guide our decisions a little better? So that's just another thought, right? How do I check outside this meeting forum? I guess as long as I bring all the information back, right, it's okay. As long as it's like, hey, I asked this question and here were the results and it's recorded, I guess that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, I think as long as we discuss it in this forum and that collectively we're not discussing it outside this forum, I think obviously people individually gathering information and then bringing it back and having this public discussion, I think we would be okay.
Okay. What does the group think about like a Facebook poll to, you know, some of our more popular Facebook groups in town?
I'm going to just guess that very few people are going to be in favor of having paid parking. And
Yeah.
I would say that the number of people that want it, like me and Derek, are probably going to, you know, and I know that this is the issue in Exeter. It gets proposed every couple of years, and then basically more people, you know, don't want it than the, you know, 50 businesses or whatever that would benefit from it. And as a result, I think they're going to at some point just have to put it in because, I mean, just from talking to a couple of people, I talked to a woman the other day who said, I don't go anywhere that has paid parking anymore. I don't go to Portsmouth because they make me pay, and I'm not going to Dover, and you know, and the thing is, I think because of the funding, you know, because we're not getting money from the states or the feds to put in parking lots and parking garages, all these towns like Exeter are going to have paid parking in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And I think once that becomes a point, there'll be a point where if you don't want to pay for parking, you're just not going to be able to go anywhere. And I also think it would be not a terrible idea in the conversation to have a spot, you know, maybe it's a half, you know, quarter of a half mile out of town, one of the town lots that's still like 72 hour, that's free, you know, like
Yeah.
important. So that, you know, if you really don't want to pay, you know,
Well, Bay Road, right? There's a parking area in Bay Road. And
Yeah, and there's
I mean,
another one on the other side of Railroad,
Yep.
Railroad Ave or whatever. So I mean,
Right.
as long as there was some options, and if you really, really, really didn't want to get that, piece of paper or whatever, I think that. But I mean, I think definitely asking people. I mean, yeah, all the people I've talked to have basically said,
Don't want to pay.
well, it's not about the paying really. It's literally not about the money, because it's $1. It's like, it's really just
Yeah.
about getting out of their car, getting the piece of paper, walking back to the car. And again, I mean, it's habit. It's like,
well, people get used to it like that.
you would get used to it. And, but I think we're definitely going to get pushback. I mean, regardless of it, because the benefit will be only seen, the benefit will be seen in sort of, I mean, hopefully people will suddenly have more parking downtown. That's, will hopefully be the benefit as the employees are moving out of town. So hopefully people will see the benefit, and obviously there'll be a benefit to the police having, not to do this, old school way with the chalk and stuff. But,
I literally see people park in a spot and then know that the 2 hours is up. So they literally move to the spot next to
Yeah.
that spot they're
Yeah.
parked at for 2 hours. And, and I get their thought process on that, but it's kind of frustrating, and then there's other business owners in town. I'm not going to name names, but they literally sit in the parking spot all day when they have their own private dedicated parking space for themselves in the back of their building. So it's just like, it's issues like that. I think, it hinders downtown's flow. And I think everybody can agree that, if we can move things, more often, there's going to be more parking for everybody. And it's going to benefit everybody, whether they live in town or they're just coming in town to shop or go to a restaurant.
Yeah, if you poll people in the overwhelming negative reaction, and then you say, well, we have to go ahead and do it anyways, is that, I mean, you find out that it's negative, but you're gonna do it
Well,
anyway.
I think everybody in the town, I mean, I hope that we give them more credit that, Derek's and John's businesses are really key to this town. I mean, that's the character of our town is being able to have these restaurants and to just cut off our nose to spite our face, say, well, I don't want to have a parking solution, and then the businesses have trouble making money and then they leave.
Mhm.
We lose the character of the town. I mean, that's why, in the 10-year plan, this was the most critical subject, right? This was literally, you can't do economic development in this town without parking. It was the one barrier to everything else working out. So, I mean, even if we had to spend $100 grand on this or do a mini bond, I think if it was the right system, like half hour free, then you pay, then you get a ticket, something really a smart system where people could just, hey, all the spots are temporary spots. I can pull at this spot, be there for up to 30 minutes, do what I need to do and leave. But hey, if I really need that spot for a while, I don't mind paying $1 or $2 and walking to a kiosk. It's got to be flexible. But at the end of the day, it's a multi-pronged strategy, right? We got to open up Gary Ave. I think we have to have parking over there as well. So each side of the town has that sort of longer term parking where maybe there's no charge. It's a tricky solution, but something has to be done, because I'm afraid we'll get into analysis paralysis, or this will go on 6 months. And when I know we've tried tackling this many times, but I just want to make sure I don't that we all don't make a decision that's horrendous, where we all pay the price for the next 5 years and everybody's mad. That's all. Lesser.
I don't think there's any need for a Facebook poll. I think if we do our due diligence and the research on this, we'll have a good recommendation to go back to the town and the council with. And then ultimately these projects, will require the council, then maybe even a town vote to go through. So I think it's our job right now to do the research and then provide the education as to what we think is the best recommendation. And I think if we make a goal for the next meeting to develop that critical criteria, I think that would be a good goal.
I agree.
Okay.
I think I forget who said it last meeting, but they said, it's the same cars parked in spots every single day. And I never really thought about that. And then I started looking every time I go through town, and it's very true that there might be enough parking if it's just not people parking there all day. So it'd be interesting just to look at that. If we didn't have the same cars there every day, would there be enough parking?
Something that I had for an idea, and I mean, it's probably got some legal stuff with it, but like the post office and the bank. I wonder if we could be like, okay, we'll plow your parking lots all winter and treat them.
Yeah.
You know, that's a huge savings to them.
Yeah.
But you got to let people park there when you're not open. I mean, that's a lot of parking.
It's creative.
You know what
It
I
looks
mean?
like the bank is letting people park there. I
Yeah,
saw,
yeah. So I know the owners of that property and they're fine. I mean,
as long as they're not open.
But stuff, that's just one of my ideas, you know, like, because we're already out working. And they're not huge parking lots, so you're not talking like, I need to add a truck or hire a new person.
Portsmouth has got a lot of privately owned lots that when you're walking or driving around, they look like they're, you know, normal town parking lots, and you pull in and usually the rate is exceptionally higher, but it's just
Yeah.
a private lot that's got extra spots. We don't have a ton of spots in Newmarket that would work, but it is definitely something I've thought of if there was a private, you know, like the bank that has extra spots.
I do think that those are some good ideas, the bank and the post office, but you know, I worry on my side of it, what's the enforcement look like? Like, are we gonna enter into some sort of legal agreement where we're gonna go onto private property to enforce parking and what have you? I'm not saying it's a bad idea, I just, there's other parts of it that we'd have
You
to
probably would.
investigate.
You probably would have to get some sort of written license or something like that from the private or the property owner. Be able to enforce.
Something like that.
What was that, Rick?
You'd have to have like a memorandum of understanding letter or something.
Yeah,
With
definitely.
a liability release.
Yep.
Another thing I thought of too is at some point we're going to probably have to get, you know, the Chimberg management team in, you know, in communication with us, because I don't know what they're doing to monitor their lot, but you know, we sort of will have to somehow talk to them because they've got a lot of visitor parking.
yeah, I talked with Jared 2 weeks ago about it, and he mentioned it's kind of frustrating that how much abuse their parking lot gets.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of spots there, sort of down near the near Kume that there was a car parked there for like literally 6 months a couple winters ago, and I finally emailed them and I said, hey, do you know there's like an abandoned car? Because I emailed Steve and Steve said that's not our part, that's theirs. I emailed him and he was like, I didn't know that was our spot. So I wonder too if you know they'd be interested in, you know, if we had some sort of enforcement, you know, I don't know how that would work, but so that it was the same, you know, if they're paying some part of it or whatever, because a lot of those spots are definitely
Mom's home.
getting abused, and there's, you know, those, you know, there's quite a few that are visitor spots where they could be going to the mills and going shopping and then walking across the street getting ice cream and then getting coffee, or, you know, where I know people are parking there and coming to, you know, different spots. So at some point, yeah, Jared would probably be the guy to talk to.
Actually, I think there's a vehicle in the lot on Bay Road. There's not a lot of activity there, so it probably doesn't matter, but there's, because I live off of Bay Road and then it's been there all winter, it hasn't moved. You can see the dirt on it that it's, that it hasn't moved, so.
I think some of those lots are people have permits down there.
Yeah, that's permitted, so they're paying the park there already.
They can 24/7, they can park there.
Yeah, the one you're talking about, or there's a couple that have been there all winter. Those people are actually, I believe, out of state and bought permits to be there all winter.
Yeah.
Let us know that, so. So I think we, you know, the idea of coming up with that list, if everybody wants to, you know, put some things together, some criteria that they want to, you know, bring to the next meeting, and we'll have to schedule that next meeting. I also think that, you know, what Bill said about us bringing some information to the town council is probably the best way. You know, we can put a list together and get that information and bring it to them. But I think certainly for the next meeting that we should all have some ideas about what is important and what we're looking for in the immediacy, I think.
We have our shared meeting notes space. Is that okay to use that, Greg, for us to sort of post some ideas? That's for the notes area that's shared for the group.
Yeah, I think as long as we're able to post that, you know, as public information,
Yeah,
then
keep it
then I
clean.
think we're
Okay.
good.
All right. That's where I'm going to throw my ideas up there, is on the shared notes that Steve gave us the link for.
Okay,
That way, I think we'll be a little bit more focused on the next meeting.
I don't have anything else. Does anybody have anything else this evening?
Does anyone want to be the chair of this committee? Just throwing it out there. We should be electing a chair at some point here.
I'm open to it.
There you go, Warren. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Right. Yeah. Now I just got to buy the
Second,
Roberts rules from Amazon for $9 and figure out what I can and can't do. Right. You know, or what we can and can't do. I'm fine with that. I mean, it's, you know, as far as I asked Steve, just out of curiosity, said, look, just, you know, schedule the meetings, pick the agendas, you know, try to keep the group on point, and that's it. I mean, it's not rocket science. So I'm fine with doing it.
I think we have to vote on this. So
Yeah.
I will nominate Warren Bash. Is that how you pronounce the last name?
Yeah, Bosch. Yeah.
Bosch, to be the chairman of the Newmarket Parking Commission. And I think, do we have to do a roll call, or do we do?
Yes,
We might as well. I just think that as town employees, Rick and I can't really.
Yeah,
oh,
vote.
that's right. We're not allowed to vote, but I still
Yeah.
second it.
Thanks,
All right,
Rick.
all in, so Rick seconded, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Warren, you got it.
All right. I'll try it for 2 weeks. I'm just kidding. All right, guys.
Thanks.
Great. So we're doing weekly meetings then, right? Sound like first? No, just kidding. We'll schedule something, I guess, in 3 weeks or so. I've already got one vendor who's responded back to me, who's going to call me tomorrow, that has a visual monitoring system parking, which to me is the most flexible, right? Camera based, you can program them to monitor spots. They can count the time. They can even potentially watch cars switch spots and flag that as well. And you don't have to put things in the street and all that. I mean, they're really pretty low cost in infrastructure. So, but you know, let's come up with our requirements for next week.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.